we should have 5 notes. Pentagon, Pentasaurus. Hello and welcome to this week's fretboard lesson. My name's Darryl Powis, and this week we're going to look at diagonal scales. What are diagonal scales? How do you play them? And why would you play them? Why would you use them and practice them? And at the end today, I'm going to give you some licks which I think are good to learn so that you can incorporate them into your improvising and playing. Some practical examples of what they are. So let's dive in. So first of all, what are diagonal scales? Well, if we've got a few different ways on the guitar, we've got floor to ceiling or vertical scales. We've got horizontal scales, so along the guitar. We can also play scales diagonally, and there's a few nice things about learning to play those scales diagonally that we'll jump into. So first of all, let's see what one actually looks like. Okay, now a nice thing about that is I've just covered loads of the fretboard. I've just moved across what would be 3 different positions if I was playing my top to floor scales like you normally would. And I've ended up all the way on fret 13 of string 1. It's quite a big coverage of the instrument. So it's getting you out of that box, the classic guitar box that everyone gets stuck in, which is a really good thing. The other nice thing about it is it's really easy to learn, because once you learn it over 2 strings, what's really happening is we're following where our root notes are. So check this out. If I do the minor scale, I'm only going to play up to note 6 of the minor scale. We'll deal with that 7th note in a little bit. Hey, just a little sidebar while you're watching this video. One of the things you're here for might be to get better fretboard knowledge as you're going along. Well, to help you, I have made what I've called the 5 levels of fretboard freedom, which is 5 different exercises and goals that you can work towards in order to improve your fretboard knowledge on the guitar. I've put a link to it below. You can check it out. It's going to help with this, what we're doing today, help fill in some blanks, some assumed knowledge that I might have put in this video, and just help you keep up to speed. And if this stuff's easy for you, what it's going to do is it's going to show you where you're headed, where the goals are with fretboard knowledge, so that you can really work out what you're doing, where you should be on the guitar, and what to do. All right, have fun. Let's go back to the video now. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happening. So when I play that box, I've got root, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I've got 1 box here to learn, and then I can jump up and take that same shape to anywhere I find a root note on my guitar. Now, a root note is just the naming note of that scale. So in A minor, the root note is A because it's the naming note of the scale we're in. If I was in D minor, I would take that same shape to a D, which would be the root note of D minor, and I get the same thing. So in this case, we're in A minor. When I move up to the next root, I can play the same shape again. And then I can move up to the next root and play the same shape again. And in fact, anywhere that I can find an A on the guitar, that shape is valid and good. So what I like about that is you're covering more of the fretboard, but you're also having to think about where your root notes are, which is really important for playing and improvising. If you don't know where your root notes are and you're not able to find them, and you're not working and being challenged in ways to find them in your practice, then you're probably not going to get good fretboard knowledge. It's just a bit of a fact from what I've seen. So that's if we do the minor scale. Now we can do A major in the same way. The scale just looks different. So the first 6 notes of the major scale look like this. Root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we've got root 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up here again. So we've got this nice run all the way up the guitar. It's a scale but it's a nice way of playing scales that we're moving diagonally. Now we can also do this with the pentatonic. It's the same thing. Same thing, diagonal scales, pentatonic. You just play those first 4 notes of the pentatonic. Root 3, 4, 5. Same thing. Root note. Okay, now, before we go any further, the skeptical-minded viewer is saying, but that's not a full scale, that's not a real scale, we're missing notes. And if you know much about scales, then you're right, we're missing notes at this point. So the major and minor scale, we only played 6 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there are 7 notes in a major and minor scale. And in the minor pentatonic, we should have 5 notes. Pentagon, Pentasaurus, I don't think that's a thing, but 5-sided shape, 5-sided thing, 5. Pentagon, pentatonic, many words. The pentatonic scale should have 5 notes, which is really important. We've only played 4 of them. So when we're doing this, we're going to add in that last note each time on the string which has not got our root note on. Let me show you an example. So here, if I do the minor scale, once you've got comfortable just playing the 6 notes and finding where the roots are, on the string that hasn't got the root note, I'm going to slide up to where the 7 is. Now what I like about this is you're going to get to know where your 7s and major 7s are by doing this, which is really important. So, and you notice how sliding my hand up here to the 10th fret has actually left my hand in the perfect position to continue the shape of the scale diagonally. So I've gone 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 8, 10, and I've slid that finger up. Then I've gone to my root note again, which is on 7, 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10, and I'm going to slide up to my 7, which is the 12th fret here, which is a G note, and then a root note again, okay, so that's with the minor scale. What happens in the major scale? Let's take a look. So in the major scale, hopefully we already know that we've got those 6 notes. So if I play you through this and talk you through what notes we've got going on in the frets. So we're going to go frets 5, 7, 9, which is root 2, 3. Then we're going to go 5, 7, 9, which is 4, 5, 6 in the scale. And then to get our 7, we're going to go up to fret 11, which leaves me open to play fret 7, which is the root note again, on string number 4. So my A note here. So really, we only learn a 2-string pattern here, which is, and then we also learn where our root notes are. 2 really important pieces of information. And what I think I like about that is it keeps it peripheral. So it keeps your knowledge of the fretboard kind of in a peripheral zone. So if you can find your root note, like a horse with blinkers here, then you can find the scale around it. So we find my root note and I play my scale. Find my root note, play my scale. Find my root note, play my scale. And then I've got a root note just there, above it. Okay, now, 2 more things we've got to do. I'm going to show you the pentatonic. We're going to look at that. And then we're going to look at some licks. So you can play through this and kind of see how you could move across the whole fretboard with these licks. So if we're doing the pentatonic, we have root, flat 3, 4, 5. And then we need to get our 7 in there, which is the same place it was for our minor scale, because these all come from the minor scale. I'm going 5 and 8 for the first 2 notes on string 6. Then I'm going string 5, fret 5 and 7, and then I'm going to slide up to fret 10. And then I've got my root note and it all repeats again. All you really need to learn is over the 2 strings and get really good at what that pattern should look like over those 2 strings. because once we reach the final note, which is fret 10 in this case, we're going to find another root note. So if you know your pattern over 2 strings and you know where your root notes are, you can play those scales all up and down the guitar and you can move around this. So alright, cool. So let's look at some licks for this and how we can play them. So one example of a diagonal lick that I love comes from the minor scale, but you could use it in the major scale, and the idea is going root 2, 3, 5. Root 2, 3, 5, root 2, 3, 5, until you find a note that you want to stop on in that lick. So an example here is, that's root 2, 3, 5, root 2, 3, 5, root 2, 3. And then I might finish on that 3 there. So let's hear it up to speed. Okay, a little bit of vibrato at the end, but it's a nice way to come up the scale and you've just crossed loads of the guitar at once. And I think it sounds pretty cool. So that's one example. Cool. So for this one, we're going to do a pentatonic lick, and this is climbing up the scale and then a little bit of fun at the end. So let's take a look at it. So we've got... Okay, so most of it was just me playing the scale with some rhythm. So ba da da ba 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 da da ba ba ba. And then at the end, I jump up to that 3, which is the C note, so fret 13, and I play, I walk down, so C, B, A, which is using one note from the minor scale. So tiny cheat at the end, but I think it sounds cool. All right, and it will sound good over anything you're playing a minor pentatonic over. Let's do the example one more time, and then I'll show you as well at the end, you can bend that last note instead of walking down. So we can bend. So let's hear the example one more time. Ba, da, 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 da. Okay, one more time. Slide. So more important than you mastering those licks, you obviously have a go at them, is understanding the idea behind them. So they're both ascending in motion from low to high, and they both have very repetitive first 2 sections. So over the first root note and the second root note, it's very similar what they do. In fact, on the first lick, it was exactly the same. And on the second lick, it was very, very similar. And then what finishes off those licks is a nice ending note or something expressive as you pull out of the fast lick at the end. So you can't just play a fast lick, we have to have a nice note at the end of it or a nice few notes to really put the cherry on the icing of that cake. These are diagonal scales and diagonal licks. I hope you have a bit more of an idea about how to use them, how to practice them, and where to get started with your playing. Enjoy yourself, and please hit subscribe if you want to join me next week for more fretboard lessons. See you then.